In this video, we're going to synchronize the carburetors of a Yamaha V-Star 650 Custom. Before we do this, you're going to want to make sure your valve clearances are correct. So if you haven't done that, that's something to check out. And you're going to want to warm the bike up. So take it out for a spin, let it be at operating temperature, and we'll get started. If you don't have a carb sync tool, just check online. There's ways to make one with clear tubing, a piece of wood, and some type of oil or hydraulic fluid or something like that. But just check online though, there's ways to do it, and you can sync your carburetors without spending the money on something like this. So whatever type of carb sync tool you're going to be using, we're going to connect it to this line right here. We're just going to split this apart, and way back there you can see that clamp, that little right here. That's on the intake manifold. We're going to open that clamp and pop that off. Your other line will connect here. And those are the two lines that you will connect to your carb sync tool. Now let's remove this hose. Just remember it's a little warm back here. There we go. And we can disconnect the other vacuum hose. With the plug removed on the rear intake manifold, we've added this vacuum hose, which will go to the carb sync tool, and this line here will also go to the carb sync tool. With our carb sync tool connected, we can now start the bike. Before we do that, I just want to show you between the carburetors, way back there, is a screw that we're going to use to sync the carbs. We're going to turn that to adjust to balance them out. Everything's connected, let's start the bike. Let's just dial this in to get a proper reading. So don't worry about where on the gauges your needles are pointing. The main thing is that they're both balancing and pointing at the same spot. Some of these sync tools are designed for cars or other types of vehicles, so it's still checking vacuum pressure, and you still just want to balance those needles. That's all that is important. That's what we're doing. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm just closing these valves on the vacuum hose just to narrow down our reading. So it is looking a little bit off. So I'm going to go down there and turn that screw that I was talking about right between the carburetors. See the difference when I turn it too much? I turn it the other way. Turn that screw just a little bit. After adjusting that screw, this is how our readings came out. I'm going to leave it at this. So the procedure is actually the same if you're deciding to use a homemade carb sync tool. The only difference is instead of two needles moving up and down, you've got fluid in the lines. So in one line the fluid might rise up to here, and this line the fluid might drop down to here. So all you're doing is adjusting the levels until they're even. So that's basically what we're doing here, is we are adjusting the screw until the needles are level. So if you don't have one of these tools, check out how to make a homemade carb sync tool. So we've adjusted that screw, and I'm liking what I see, so I'm going to leave the settings like this. I believe these are balanced nicely, so I'm going to put everything back together. Let the bike cool down before you do this. It's going to be hot between your two cylinders when you're putting that plug back on the front or the rear intake manifold. And I took the tank off for the purpose of this video. You didn't need to do that, but that's how you sync your carbs. Take care. Later days.